Hi everyone, this is Brian Lisenby from Lisenby Immigration Law. I am actually super excited to talk to everyone today about 8 CFR 204.5H 3V, which is documenting your original contributions of major significance um, that are scientific, scholarly, artistic, athletic, or business related to your field of expertise. Very, very interesting EB-1 criteria that requires a lot of careful documentation. And so I think there's a lot of tips and tricks that can help you make your EB-1A petitions a lot stronger in the EB-1B petitions a lot stronger by just doing a few things with this criteria. I think first and foremost, it's just absolutely critical that everyone watching and thinking through this criteria knows documentation is so vital for this criteria. One of the most common RFEs that we receive right now with this criteria is going to be that we've tried to argue original contributions just based on the testimony of people who write letters on your behalf. And I do think that USCI should consider those things a lot stronger than they do. When somebody who's clearly an expert in your field of expertise writes a letter talking about your contributions and how those things are of major significance and have had a major impact on your field, USCI should take that a little bit more seriously. And I think it's kind of a shame that they aren't relying just on those testimonies, but they do want documented hard evidence if it's available. And that's just a reality right now with EB-1A currently. And that could change. We could see a shift where they rely more on testimony. But as of now, clear documentation is really a really helpful theme for this criteria, which can be a difficult thing to obtain, right? Because when you work for a company, if you develop something at that company as part of your work and as part of your role, but it's original contribution that you developed, something that you led, that you drove, that was yours, that really you were the person behind it. Usually at a big corporation, that's not going to have your name attached to it, even if you were the driving force, right? And so when there's news announcements and media announcements and things that get out there about your contributions, they aren't going to have your name on it. It's going to have the name of the employer. So how do you document that it's your contribution? Because first and foremost, you need to prove that it is yours. You have an uphill battle with letters of people saying that it's your contribution. So there can be some significant challenges with getting real hard evidence. When USCIS evaluates this criteria, there are questions I think that the officers are considering a lot. Some of those questions include things like the following. What documentation do you possess that demonstrates you have original contributions? Are your contributions of major significance? And that's key. You can't just create something without it being impressive. And I think the common example is there's a lot of people out there with patented innovations or methods or things that they have developed, but are those patented innovations having a significant impact on your field, or is it just something that you invented? Have your contributions been used by others in the field? What is the implementation? What's the impact? And that's such an important word for this criteria. What is the impact of your contribution to your field of expertise? What degree of influence and standing do you have within your field as a result of your original contribution? Are other people advancing your field because of your contributions? Is there a field-wide change because of what you've done? Did you discover something new, advance a theory or technology, or contribute in another way? How useful is your contribution? Have others benefited financially from your work? And they're going to ask, how have others benefited financially? Who and where are those people geographically located? Is it just your employer or is it field-wide impact? Is it just your employer or clients? Sometimes they'll ask. Um, Again, and I can't state this enough with this criteria. Whatever your accomplishments are, you should not present them to USCIS without extremely strong evidence for this criteria. It's really important to document these things as carefully as possible. A lot of the evidence can include things like press coverage regarding your original contributions, patents that you've received as a result, usage statistics, citations to your patents or your research papers, licenses, evidence of the creation of the invention, business strategies used to grow your company as a result of the invention, evidence regarding adoption by others throughout your field of expertise, or people copycatting your innovation and giving you credit for it, statistics regarding growth, sales, contracts, etc., licensed technology, research articles and publications about the contribution. Support letters from colleagues can be helpful, and we've discussed this a little bit, but when a government official, researcher, or colleague writes a letter, you really want them to describe your national or international influence on others in your field, the real-world applications of your work, why it's of major significance, financial gains experienced, how they benefited from your work. And just a caveat there, general letters that just talk about the importance of your work are insufficient. There really needs to be some good detail included in these letters, in my opinion. We often will use Google Scholar pages for researchers, and USCIS, for some reason, really likes Google Scholar. They like to see that for a researcher. Testimonials from clients about your work's impact on contracts or negotiations, media articles. Uh, Other research articles that cite to your work and rely upon your work. And I think that's really key. If it's a passing citation where somebody has used it just to give you credit for something, or if it's really the foundation to further research, if it's a game changer, that can really go a long way to helping USCIS see that this is a contribution of major significance. They want to see that others are relying upon your work, not just referencing it. Widespread public commentary about your work. Application descriptions, downloads or usage statistics, podcast transcripts discussing your work, titles or records that you broke, evidence of visitor traffic to websites, ranking lists, books, awards, memberships, grants, other funding you received because of your contributions, endorsements, venture capital funding, hardware or software, blueprints of your work, brief explanations of your field of study. The list goes on. And really, we could talk about types of evidence for this criteria for days because there are so many different ways to document your original contribution. So I think really the most important thing is to consider the following couple of things. First, you need evidence establishing that you are the originator of the idea, that it is yours, that it is your original contribution. Second, evidence that the evidence is of major influence and impact to your field of expertise. So what evidence do you have? What evidence can you provide that that contribution has impacted hundreds, thousands, or millions of people in your field, maybe even billions? If you get that evidence, then you probably win this criteria, hopefully. And even then, USCIS could challenge you, but they really like to push back on original contributions because sometimes it's hard to document really how significant these things are. And again, sometimes companies just don't want to share a lot of information about the impact of something. Competitors obviously don't want to share the impact of something. Um, Especially if they've copycatted something. It's going to be hard to get a competitor to provide documentation that they've had a game-changing impact from your contribution on them. So in the field of business, I think this is especially complicated and can be really difficult. Sometimes a little bit easier with sports or art or science because those fields tend to be a little bit more collaborative. In business, it's all about making more money, right? And getting to the top. So you just have a little bit of an uphill battle in the business sector. Just a reminder, even if you prove that you have an original contribution, so and I think a good example again is back to a patent. Even if you prove that it is original in a patent, on its face is an original contribution, right? Because that's literally what a patent is. It's proof that you've invented something new, novel, unique. You don't necessarily win this criteria. USCIS really, again, and I can't say this enough, they really want to see that it's significant to your field of expertise. So spend a lot of time gathering that data, spend a lot of time getting that clear evidence, and make sure you map the story for USCIS so that they can see how obvious it is that you are a game changer, that you have impacted your field, that people are relying upon your work and benefiting substantially from it. Um, I think that this is a very winnable criteria and something that you can have a lot of success with. But again, USCIS is going to want that documentation. So combine documentation and letters in your strategy when you're preparing your original contributions arguments and position yourself for the most likely successful outcome possible. Good luck, everyone. We will talk to you soon. Thanks.